What the hell is happening in these places? That was the question running through my mind by the time I walked into my 10th nursing home. At first, I was just visiting, observing, but the more I saw, the more I felt like something was off. Not always on the surface, but beneath it, in the eyes of the residents. In the way their routines were replaced, in the silence that settled over them. And that's when it hit me. Dignity doesn't vanish all at once after 70. It erodes, quietly, casually, one small compromise at a time. And unless someone sees it happening, it just becomes the new normal. I visited 10 nursing homes, and what I found changed how I see aging forever. Let's talk about it. Everyone smiles, but few are really seen. The first thing you notice when you walk into most nursing homes: smiles, friendly staff, activity boards on the wall, soft music playing from a hallway speaker. It feels calm, managed, safe. But if you stay long enough, you start to notice something else, something much quieter. A woman sitting in the corner of the common room, eyes fixed on the door. A man staring into his untouched soup, nodding silently as someone asks if everything's okay. The smiles are there, but so is something else. A sense that no one is really asking who they were, or who they still are. In most places I visited, residents were cared for, but rarely seen. They were monitored, fed, bathed, kept on schedule, but not truly listened to, not deeply engaged with. One nurse told me, "We do our best, but we don't have time for long conversations." And that's when I realized, dignity starts to disappear not when someone gets old, but when people stop asking who they still want to be. When you're no longer known, you begin to feel invisible, even while everyone's smiling. Independence is an illusion in most facilities. In the brochures, they use words like independent living, resident choice, freedom with support. But in reality, that freedom often has a clock on it and a chaperone. Breakfast is at 8, lunch at 12, dinner at 5. Miss it? You wait. Or you go without. Want to go outside for fresh air? Someone has to sign you out. Want to wear something different? Sorry, laundry hasn't come back yet. In some places, even toothpaste was locked up in a labeled drawer for safety. You don't realize how much independence you have until everything has to be requested. One woman told me, "I used to decide how my day went. Now I get told." She didn't sound angry, just tired. And that's the part that hit me. Most people don't fight it. They just slowly stop making choices, because it's easier not to ask. Dignity doesn't die loudly. It fades. When independence becomes a managed illusion. Small rooms, smaller voices. Most nursing home rooms are small, just enough space for a bed, a chair, and maybe a small dresser. But what struck me most wasn't the size of the rooms. It was how quiet they were. Not peaceful quiet, resigned quiet. People weren't talking much, not to each other, not even to staff. And when they did speak, it was often short, polite, careful. I asked one resident if she liked the food. She paused, then said, "It doesn't matter. Complaining won't change it." I heard that phrase or something like it in almost every facility I visited. People stop voicing their opinions not because they're happy, but because they've learned that their voice won't change anything. And that silence, it becomes a way of life, a form of quiet self-erasure. When you no longer speak up, you start to disappear, even if you're still there. And when dignity isn't protected, it shrinks to fit the space it's allowed. The loss no one talks about. Rituals. No one warns you about this part. Not the brochures. Not the intake interviews. Not even the families who say, "It'll be good for you." But here's what I noticed in every single nursing home I visited. People lose their rituals, and with them, their rhythm. Your morning coffee, just the way you like it. Your favorite chair positioned to catch the sun. Watering your plants at 10 a.m. folding towels a certain way, watching your show, in your robe, at 9 p.m. Tiny things, personal things, but they're not just habits, they're anchors. They remind you that your day is still yours. But in most nursing homes, those rituals get replaced with routines, standardized, efficient, equal for all. Meals come when they come. Rooms are cleaned on a schedule. Activities are group approved. And no one says, "What would make this feel more like you?" I saw it in people's faces. That subtle drift into passivity. Not because they were too old, but because their rituals had been gently, quietly removed. Dignity lives in the details. And when you take away someone's small choices, you chip away at the core of who they are. Staff can make or break the soul of a place. It wasn't the furniture, or the food, or even the size of the room. What truly separated one nursing home from another was the staff. In one facility, I saw a nurse kneel down to eye level with a man in a wheelchair. She laughed with him, held his hand like he was her grandfather. He smiled the whole time. In another, I watched a woman ring her call bell for 15 minutes. When someone finally came, they sighed and said, "What is it now?" Same budget, same equipment, completely different energy. Because dignity can't be bought, it's given. In the tone of voice, in the patience, in the way someone looks at you like you're still a person, not a task. One CNA told me, "We're short-staffed every day." But I remind myself, I'm walking into someone's entire world, not just their room. That one sentence said it all. Where dignity survives, it's because someone protects it every single day. Not with policies, with presence. Some places preserve the human spirit. Not all of what I saw was sad. In fact, in a few rare places I saw something beautiful. I saw a man in his 90s tending to a garden the staff helped him build. His tomatoes weren't just plants, they were pride. They were proof that he could still create something meaningful. In another home, a former art teacher led weekly watercolor classes not as a therapeutic activity, but because she still wanted to teach. The staff didn't just allow it, they scheduled around it. And the difference in those homes was palpable. The residents weren't just existing, they were still becoming. There were jokes, arguments, opinions. People had preferences, and those preferences were honored. That's when I realized, dignity doesn't disappear with age. It disappears when you're no longer allowed to contribute. In these places, residents weren't treated like patients. They were treated like elders, holders of experience, people with something left to offer. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive, and that made all the difference. So after visiting 10 nursing homes, what did I really learn? It wasn't about the decor. It wasn't about the medical equipment. It wasn't even about how new or fancy the facility was. It was about the quiet, invisible thread that either holds your dignity together or lets it unravel. And that thread? It's made of 3 things: being seen, being asked, being needed. You can have a clean room, 3 meals a day, and a button to call for help. But if no one listens to your preferences, if no one notices when you're fading, if no one asks what you still want to do with your life, then all of that comfort comes at a cost. And here's what shocked me the most. It wasn't about the building, it was about the culture. One staff team protected dignity like it was sacred. Another handled it like a checklist. So if you or someone you love is facing the decision about long-term care, don't just ask, is it safe? Is it clean? Is it affordable? Also ask, will I still feel like myself here? Because growing old is hard enough, but growing invisible? That's something no one should ever have to do. You might be watching this for a parent, or maybe for yourself. Either way, I hope this helped you see what's often hidden behind the walls of care. Because dignity, after 70, isn't about perfection. It's about being treated like you still matter, because you do. Here's what you can do next. Leave a comment. Have you visited a nursing home that surprised you for better or worse? Write this down. What does dignity mean to you in this stage of life? Share this video with someone making this decision. It might open a conversation they've been avoiding. Subscribe if you want more honest, compassionate insight on aging, family, and independence. You deserve to age with dignity. Let's protect it together.